These are your introduction to ratio notes. So ratios are used to compare two different values. Ratios can be written like a fraction, so one number on top of the other, using a colon, so separated by those two dots, or with the word to, T-O. Ratios represent two different types of relationships. They show a part-to-part or a part-to-whole relationship. So that part-to-whole is really why we kind of write them as a fraction, because a fraction is just a part-to-whole relationship. Some extra things that are missing on your notes page, okay? When it comes to ratios, the order matters. So whatever value they write first in the question, that's the number that has to be written first in your answer. And then labels are important. So what I mean by that is if we're comparing cars to trucks, it helps if you say something like you have 5 cars for every 3 trucks, because that's going to be helpful when we start talking about making them equivalent if you know which numbers go with what type of value. So down here, we have this nice picture, and we're going to use this picture to help us figure out ratios. So the first thing over here is how many of each picture do we have? So up first, it has the witches' hats. So here's 1 hat, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 hats. For the bats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bats. For the spiders, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spiders. And then for the pumpkins, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 pumpkins. So I'm going to ask for the total. So to get the total, we're just going to add those all up. And that gives us a total of 26. Okay, so we're going to use those numbers below to start practicing writing our ratios. So remember up at the top, I told you that labels are helpful and that the order matters. So in example 1, we are comparing hats and bats. Okay, so in our picture, I counted 8 hats and I counted 6 bats. And then it says to write the ratio using the other two forms. So I start as a fraction. So down here, I have 8 hats, colon, 6 bats, 8 hats to 6 bats. Now the last question, is this a part-to-part or a part-to-whole? So if I'm comparing hats and bats, are either of those representing the total that's in the picture? The answer is no. So this is part-to-part. Okay, example 2. We are again comparing hats, but now to pumpkins. So we still have 8 hats, but we only have 5 pumpkins. So 8 hats, colon, 5 pumpkins, 8 hats, 2, 5 pumpkins. Last question, is this part-to-part or part-to-whole? So again, if we're comparing hats and pumpkins, those are both 2 parts of the total, so it is part-to-part. This last question is talking about spiders compared to all. So another word for all would be the total. So up here, we have 7 spiders to 26 total pictures. So in our other form, 7 spiders, colon, 26 total, 7 spiders to 26 total. And then this question asks, is it part to part or part to whole? So same question, But this time we're comparing the spiders, which are part of the picture, and then all of the pictures. So this would be the first one that is your part to whole relationship. So again, big thing with ratios is they are a comparison of two things. The order needs to match the words in the question, and labels kind of help you keep all of your information straight. The other practice is now comparing colors. Okay, so again, the labels are still important and the order still matters. So this says complete the table to write ratios about your Skittles. So if you opened a little bag of Skittles, we're kind of just guessing how many pieces would be in there. So let's say you have 4 red, you have 2 green, 1 yellow, 5 purple, and 2 orange. So 9. So you had 14 total Skittles. All right. Then on this other side, it says to write a ratio of that color to the total. So we have 4 red to 14 total. 2 green to 14 total. 1 yellow to 14 total. 5 purple to 14 total. And 2 orange. I'm actually going to use an N for the word orange only because my O might look like a 0. And then this one, we don't need it because it's just total to total. Over here on the side, there were bonus ratios, and these were just color to color. So these over here are your part to part ratios. So for orange, I have 2 orange, and I have 1 yellow. I have 2 green, and I have 5 purple. 4 red, and 2 green. So again, my numbers match the order of the words in the question, and I have these labels just to help us out for the next part of ratios. The last part are our special ratios. So fractions, which is why we can write a ratio like a fraction, show a part to whole relationship. And then there are percents. So this is where I tell you to think about your grades. Okay, percents also show a part to whole relationship. Percent means per 100. So they show a part of 100. Down here, we're going to write each model as a fraction. And we probably are just going to go ahead and write it as a percent too. So for A, 1, 2, 3, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 45 out of 100, which is the same as 45%. B, you have 11 out of 100, which is 11%. 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 70 out of 100, which is 70%. 2 out of 100, which is 2%. For each of these, you could simplify that ratio, but you don't really have to yet. So just a recap, when it comes to ratios, it's comparison of two objects. You need to write the numbers in the order of the words in the question, and labels are important.